Hey, it's Eli Johnson with POCculture.com. Thank you so much for having me.
Nice to meet you, Eli.
Awesome. I was able to get a screener of the film a few days ago out here at the AMC, and obviously, edge of my seat the entire time. It was a really great film, really great thriller. So watching it, I kind of wanted to get your perspective on it. I was reminded of some real world cases, things like the Madeleine McCann situation that happened on foreign soil many, many years ago. Were there any real life stories that you personally took inspiration from when kind of conceiving the story?
Yeah, it always feels weird taking inspiration from some dark alleys of the internet. But I think and sometimes these names, it's funny, like how it a direct mirror in the story, but like America, I can speak because it's an American story, I guess, but like America, we can get so obsessed when there's a missing fiance or something, like there's these like stories, and like Reddit will be finding, there was that YouTube, I forget the names of these people, but like I feel like a few months ago or a year ago there was that suspected fiance who murdered the wife, they found the van on a YouTube video because somebody else was like vlogging it,
I
like it
remember
was, yeah, it was
that.
like stuff like that always gets our attention when we're making these films. It's just like, holy shit, but this culture, this true crime culture, it's so pervasive, it's so pervasive that our movie opens with recreating the events of the previous film in a true crime context, so like there's so many cases that we take inspiration by, from a scare standpoint, and our objective is to just fill it with as much kind of like sentimentality and emotion that we can in the context of what we think makes this franchise really the heartbeat of it, which is like family and a parent and child.
Absolutely. So, in a genre like this, when you're forming out and fleshing the story, how do you stay away from some of the tropes that we kind of might expect? So, for example, when the crime really kicks off, all signs point to one of the characters, and I don't want to spoil anything, but all signs point to one of the main male characters being the suspect. But as the third act comes along, you kind of, switch it completely. So, how do you kind of
Yeah.
stay away from some of the tropes that we might expect in a genre like this?
You know, it's it's almost a requirement that we do, and the reason it's a requirement that we do is because of the medium that we're telling the story in. And this is something we realized in searching, but like at the end of the day, when you tell a movie on a computer screen, all we look at on our computers is information. There's this Zoom right now that has your name, my name, everybody else who's part of the call. We're recording at the side of it, or at least what I'm looking at. We all have, it's just information. A text is information. TikTok is information. An email is information. An article is information. A tweet is information. And like essentially our set pieces become, in this film, it's not like somebody jumping from building to building. It's information coming at a quick rate or information coming at a slow rate. The montages in this film are information coming at quick rate. So like when the entire film is about the discovery of information, and that's all you have because it takes place on a computer screen, you have to have twists. And so like when you have a movie that requires twists, we just throw them as quickly as we can. And like this is a movie like you just described. It starts off one way, so just do another thing, goes to C, goes to D, goes back to A, goes to B, just constantly doing that because it needs to, in order to feel not stale, from our POV of the whole thing. And it's just fun to watch as an audience because like it captures what I think we love about that true crime feeling, which is like, hey, I think it was that person, and the more twists and turns, the better.
Absolutely. So when you're kind of fleshing out the characters and figuring out what goes where in the scripting process, did you write with any of the particular actors in mind? Because you have such a great cast. You have Nia Long, you have Storm Reid. Were any of them like kind of built into the script as actors when you were kind of fleshing out some of the characters?
I think we did passes of the script after we cast, to make it feel like, okay, now whenever you get like the actual image of the person in your head, like it's just easier to write or rewrite or just feel things out, but no, short answer is no. We wrote the script. It was just June and her mom, and we were like, who is going to play June, and like, is this a name that's going to be, are we gonna have to change it to like an Indian name if we cast an Indian American actress? Like what are we gonna do? And we just basically like looked at everybody we could who we felt like had the chops and the energy and the charisma to sort of hold this movie up. And we landed on Storm and we're like, Yep, that seems like a no-brainer. So we went from there, and then everything got more specific and easier because we were able to imagine her. But from the beginning, we kind of just had like a very, very open mind as to like who we were going to find to lead this movie. Unlike Searching, which started very much like, yeah, this needs to be an Asian American family.
Absolutely. So when you guys were kind of conceiving of the script originally, coming off of a sequel as to a film as big and as I want to even say iconic as the original Searching film.
We love it though. We love it.
Absolutely. So what was the importance of making the crime international? Like, what was the importance of doing that as opposed to just continuing it on domestic soil, but maybe in a different location?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I don't want to give too much away, but the very simple answer, and that's because the internet wasn't foreign to June. You know, when you switch the main characters around, and you know, the first one was about a dad breaking into his daughter's laptop to look for clues to find her. He is a foreigner to the way teenagers use computers. Everything he has to learn for the first time, to him, the unknown is the laptop. The unknown is the internet. But when you switch the protagonist and you make the lead 18 years old, or, you know, a high school or teenager, like, technology is no longer the forest that she has to go through. It is the world that she already operates in. So like, we cannot just rely on that as being like this mysterious place. We needed to actually create another sense of an unknown land. To David Kim, it was the internet, and to her, we needed another foreign country. So from there, we started like looking at the globe and then being a little selfish as to like where we wanted to travel, and landed on Colombia.
Amazing. And so lastly, but not least, of course, is when viewers kind of come out of this film, what would you like them to kind of keep in mind? What would you like them to be, you know, leave some parting words with the viewers when they kind of walk out of this film? What would you kind of say the main theme for you is?
I think what I hope, you know, you go on Twitter sometimes and you see the responses to these films, and 1 out of every 60 comments, you'll get one that was just like, man, you know, I wish I could just make a movie over the weekend, you know, like something like that. And it's just like, dude, you have no idea. This movie takes like twice as long as any normal movie. Like, every frame is created with consideration and care and time, and computer crashes. And we argue over this stuff, and we write Easter eggs that are like its own movie. There are like 9 movies happening in the background of Missing, that if you just pause this movie, you can see other storylines happening on the side, storylines that are sequels to storylines we've considered or we had in Searching. So like, there's a lot of work that goes into these movies. There's a reason whenever a director finishes it, they never want to do it again, another computer screen movie, is because they are so taxing on the mind and the body, despite what people think. I hope people can walk out of this and be like, wow, that took so much work.
Absolutely. Because I do visual art and graphic design myself. So I was watching a lot of the, you know, pop-ups and like all of the things that you guys created for the film. And I'm looking at it like, I can tell these guys.
Yeah, dude, every single asset starts in Photoshop or Illustrator. And then like, it's recreated because we need to have it like, what's the word? Like vectored. Like, so like when you zoom in, like you don't,
so it's smooth.
It's all high res, you know? So like and that, which allows us, and then after you design it, you're obviously writing the creative copy on everything to make it look cool. Then on top of that, we're going to After Effects and adding the camera, adding lenses, adding flares, like, it's so much work to create this feeling of just like using your phone.
Absolutely. So I'm getting the wrap up signal, but thank you guys. Thank you, Aneesh, so much for taking the time to discuss this film, a really amazing film. And I wish you guys all the success with Missing as soon as it comes out in theaters.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you watching it.
Yes, sir.